Hello everybody, my name is Robert Connelly. I'm an instructor in the mathematics department, and I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that I've used in my online courses during the transition. So first thing I want to talk about is a real practical program that's it's a little bit more on the administrative side of things, but I think it's been a real lifesaver for courses that have handwritten assignments. So this program is called GradeScope. It's free to try for 2 semesters for any instructor. The university could buy a license for it in the long run, or instructors could pay their own fees to continue using it after the 2 semesters, but at least would give temporary access. And considering everything that's going on, a couple semesters of use of this could be really useful. So basically the idea of this program is a program that allows you to grade through your browser. If you have an in-person class, then students can scan all of their quizzes or exams, or you can scan all of your students' quizzes or exams into the program. It'll sort them and allow you to grade them online. This is great because you can build a rubric that will always be the same. It's very consistent, much easier to grade consistently. B, you don't have stacks of papers to deal with. Your TAs can all grade separately. They don't even have to be in the same room, and you can grade simultaneously. You can grade different problems at the same time with no issue. So I just want to show basically what the idea of this program is. I've got a little prototype course here. So you can create multiple courses within your one registration. And in the course you can build assignments. So when you build the assignments, you generally upload a template of some sort, like the blank version of the assignment, and then you can select which questions appear where on the pages. And then when you go to grade, it'll actually isolate, if you want to grade problem number 3, it'll isolate you to problem number 3 on each student's page, and you can go through and just grade number 3 back to back to back. So let's see what that looks like. I have a couple people who were kind enough to sign up for my fake course here and allow me to use them as demonstrations for this. So if I want to grade something on here, let's say I want to grade question 2, I can click on this, and I've already set up this template, but you see it already boxes in this area for question 2. And in this case, this is just a silly fake quiz, so their answers are quite simple. I can then create a rubric off to the side where I set the number of points, so I can set the total number of points. You can adjust it from negative to positive scoring rubrics. You can, set your maximum points or your minimum points. But the actual point makeup is all done as part of the assignment outline. So you can build the rubric in here and adjust that, as you go. If you need to add new rubric items, you can do that. It's quite easy to use. And when you want to grade something, you would just click the necessary button, right? It would default to, if you click correct, default to the full points. So because I'm using a negative rubric, but any penalty that I want to add, bam, it's going to take that penalty. So as you move through, you grade one person's question, and you can click Next Ungraded, or there's a shortcut. You just press the Z button on your keyboard. It goes to the next person's quiz. And once again, it highlights the same question that you were already working on. So this also supports handwritten feedback. If you have a touch screen, which I have a pen monitor here, you can write handwritten feedback directly on. They'll be able to see that. You can also use text boxes and leave comments. There's an eraser function. You can also, if something doesn't fit the rubric, if it's really unique, you can add individual point adjustments for that. Like if, for example, I wanted a different answer. Obviously, it's not a very good justification for taking points away, but this isn't real, so that's okay. So you plug that in, and then it'll take away that particular point adjustment. One of the great things is that these comments get saved. So this Dropbox, once you've used a comment on an assignment, will actually populate with previous comments. So if you thought something wasn't going to come up commonly, or you gave a specific comment here, you don't even have to use the point adjustment for these comments. You could leave it blank. That's fine too. But those comments will pop up in here in future ones. So if you see people doing the same kind of mistakes, you can go ahead and pull those comments back up every time. Makes it really easy. So once you've graded all of the students for a given problem, you go to Next Ungraded. It pulls you back to the questions list, and you can pick another question to start grading. One of the other things that's pretty convenient about this is that it actually shows who it was graded by. So if you have multiple TAs grading and you want to ask, hey, why did you grade this way, then you'll know exactly which TA graded a particular assignment. I find it pretty practical, and the program has been a real lifesaver with handwritten assignments for my calculus courses. I think that this is really beneficial if you have assignments that really don't work well for multiple choice or online free response, things like that, which I find in mathematics it's very difficult to write good assessments without having handwritten questions. So I think it's pretty valuable. Now I want to talk about a program called Discord. Discord was started as a messaging system for gamers where they could stream live gameplay. People could message back and forth. It's persistent, so people can leave messages whenever. You don't have to have specific meeting times set up or anything like that. So students can always be, logging in, posting messages to the class board. Other students can respond, or you can respond freely. I find that it works really well for two things. One is virtual office hours in particular. Discord supports voice channels, so you can click on this voice channel button, and it gives you the ability to talk to your students. They can join in the voice channel, hear you as well, and those students can also turn on or off their microphones in the voice channel so they can speak directly to you. And it also supports screen sharing and webcam sharing. So the screen sharing in particular is super helpful. In my case, I use a pen monitor for everything. So for live sessions, if I'm doing office hours, I can share my screen. Students can ask me questions. They can see exactly what I'm writing on my screen. And I find that really works quite well. In addition to the voice support, it also supports creating multiple channels within a single, what's called a server. So you create a server for your class, and you can invite a bunch of people to it. You can get this link that you just post for students, and they can all get to your server that way. And then you can set up multiple channels. So if you want to give a good, easy way for students to do group work, you can set up these Discord channels for different groups, and you can even set permissions to where only certain students can access certain groups. Those are called roles in Discord. So yeah, the roles are very helpful, and not only can roles be used to assign various students to different groups and make sure that they can only participate with their given group. In addition to that, you can use roles to give TAs extra permissions. So TAs can get permission to move people between groups, to host the streaming sessions, etc. So the roles give you a lot of power and flexibility in determining who can do what in a given Discord server. You can restrict students to only being able to post text messages and join voice channels. You can restrict them from being able to stream video if you want. On the other hand, you might want them to be able to stream video in their group channels, and you can even change permissions for different roles within different channels in the server. So tons of flexibility, and I find that most students are already extremely familiar with Discord. I believe a colleague of mine did a poll of his students, and he had a couple hundred students, and I think it was something like 85% said they already used Discord regularly. So it's something the students are really comfortable with, and they have no issues adjusting to it. And lastly, in addition to all of that, it does support mobile devices. So it's really helpful for students who they want to join into office hours, but maybe they're not at home. They don't have their laptop with them, but they just have a quick question or two. It also supports simultaneous logins, so a student can be logged in at their computer and on their phone. That's really helpful in mathematics because oftentimes a student might need to write out what their question is to make it clear. So they can take a picture of their work on their phone and post it using their phone while listening in or watching the video session on their laptop. So it gives a lot of flexibility for those kind of purposes. I've found that this is a really great way to host virtual office hours. And in fact, I also stream my live class sessions through Discord because although I usually use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, I find a certain group of students, 5 to 10 students every class, seem to have issues with getting audio from Blackboard Collaborate. And this way they have an alternative. I can stream to both simultaneously, so if a student isn't able to join in on Collaborate Ultra, then they can just log in on Discord and they can view my stream from there. So it gives a lot more flexibility. I think it makes things easier for students, and it's been really helpful. All of my students have been really happy with having Discord set up and having that flexibility. Well, lastly, I want to talk about how I've handled flipping my classroom in the online setting. So to start with, I'm using a pen monitor. So it's like a touchscreen monitor, except it specifically only works with a pen. It does work very well for nice precision. You can easily write clearly. And it has some other advantages over using, say, a separate touchscreen. So one of those advantages is that it acts as a full second monitor, and as a second monitor, that means I can have all of my programs that I'm using for my class, my chat windows, etc., up on one monitor and have an entire monitor dedicated to this. I can have it all run in program, which is very helpful for if I want to pull in a window from my PC, versus using a tablet. I can just drag the window right into screen like that. So this is the monitor I'm using. But there are a lot of similar things you can get, pen displays that are smaller, tablet, size, that are quite a bit cheaper. So just for a little perspective on how I'm handling my recordings, etc. And I use OneNote for live sessions, which is this program again. And OneNote has some great features, like it has an ink to shape feature where you can draw a shape, give you a nice circle or rectangle or triangle. So, well, that's not a triangle. But when you're drawing things quickly in a mathematics class, at least, it's pretty helpful for getting those shapes to look, pretty good without spending a ton of time trying to freehand them. However, I also use pre-recorded lectures. So my live sessions are handled primarily as sort of a large-scale extreme version of office hours. And first, students have to go watch pre-recorded lectures. So for the pre-recorded lectures, I actually record them on Word, and I use the draw features of Word as well. So I pre-type up my notes for the class, for any video that I'm going to record. But I don't put everything in. I put the key definitions, statements. I don't do examples. I don't always have all the explanations in place in the notes. And the reason is that I'm trying to do two things at once, essentially, which is I want the videos to be sort of compact and clean, to not be spending a lot of time writing things in the videos. It makes it better for students to rewatch. I've found it makes the videos a little more compact. So something that might take me 30 minutes to do live takes me, 17 minutes if I've pre-written most of the notes. So students have told me that it does make it easier to go back and review videos again if they want, because it takes quite a bit less time than when I was recording the whole lesson from front to start. But in addition to that, I don't do the examples out in the notes pre-written for the most part, because those I really want to make sure I'm carefully explaining my thought process. And this may be a problem unique to me, but others may hear this and realize that they've got a similar issue, which is if I just have everything typed out, if I did everything as a PowerPoint with all the explanations and all of the example problems worked out ahead of time on the PowerPoint, then I don't internalize, I don't say my internalized thought process the same way. Whereas if I'm actually working out a problem in a live manner, then I'll explain what my thoughts are behind the scenes. So this sort of hybrid approach to making these videos works really well for me. So just to show a little clip here of basically what I've got going. So I go through, I explain some definitions, some key facts, moves forward. Skip ahead a little. But once I get to an example, which will actually be up ahead, the example I actually work out live. So I'll go through the example. And also you can see here I've written some live, like a sort of mini example off to the side to reinforce this. But the big thing about the pre-recorded lectures that's been a huge help in my summer session has been using this program Kaltura. It's Kaltura. And the university, USF, just got access to this program, as I understand, a couple weeks ago. They purchased a license to it. And this allows for integrated questions into your videos. So they watch the video, they get to the question, and they're asked something like this. Now, the weakness of the Kaltura video quizzes is that it doesn't support mathematical notation as far as I can tell. I haven't figured out a way to implement it. So you have to kind of work around it, type out pi. You can't do a proper fraction. You've got to use a, slash. So there's some little annoyances there, but overall I find that it's very helpful for keeping students engaged with the lectures in a timely basis. Make sure that students actually have to do them by the due dates you set so that students aren't piling all their work on themselves at the last moment. And I've been pretty happy with how this has worked out for sure. So they can select a quiz answer, and go on, and the quiz continues, or the video continues. At the end of the video, they'll be able to submit the video quiz. So in addition to making them watch lecture videos ahead of time, in my course I require that every student attend half of the live sessions, and those live sessions are handled in a flipped classroom fashion. I ask them questions, clicker questions, using Reef, to gauge how well they understood the notes and if they studied their notes. And in addition to that, I take their questions. Anything in the notes that they didn't fully understand, anything in a video that they didn't fully understand, they can get me to expand on it. They can ask me, if they're stuck on some concept in the homework, they can ask me about that. So it gives me an opportunity to really dive deep into a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have time for if I was doing the lectures, live for the whole course. So I've found this to work out really well, and I've mostly heard really great things from students, so I've been pretty happy with how it's worked. The embedded quizzes in Kaltura have really helped make this, tie this all together and help ensure students are staying on track on a timely basis. When doing my live sessions, I usually use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, which is pretty easy. You can click here, you can create new sessions. You can create a session, set it to schedule, repeating schedule. It's pretty easy to get set up. In addition to using the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, which, by the way, has a nice recording feature built in. You can record your sessions, and then students can see your recorded sessions here. So if a student doesn't attend a live session, and then they can refer to it there. I've found it's great for a student might say, hey, I'm struggling with a homework problem of this type. And I can go, oh, well, actually, yesterday's session at about the 50-minute mark, I covered that, an example just like that. And they can go to the live session and, easily find what you're talking about. In addition to using Blackboard, I do use Discord, like I mentioned earlier in the video, simultaneously, just because sometimes Collaborate Ultra seems to not work very well for certain students. So I find that giving them the option to stream through Discord is really helpful. And And I do have them use the iClicker Reef program, which works basically the same way as regular in-class clickers, except it can all be done through a web browser or a mobile phone, and they don't have to be physically in the classroom. So that works really well for the live sessions. All right, well, I think that covers all my main strategies, at least the bulk of the big ideas I've had for dealing with this, and so far I've felt pretty successful. There are definitely rough edges around the transition, but I've been pretty happy with these particular strategies and how they've gone as I've implemented them. Thank you for watching.